Officially, Francesco Pecco Bagnaia's failure to finish the 2025 Malaysian MotoGP main race at the Sepang International Circuit was blamed on a rear tire blowout, an incident claimed to have been caused by hitting track debris. However, this single narrative fails to capture the true scale of the reigning world champion's crisis. The tire blowout tragedy was merely a symptom, not the actual disease. Beneath Pecco's disappointment lurked a more chronic technical problem with his Ducati Desmosedici GP25, a handling issue that had persisted throughout the second half of the season, effectively destroying his confidence in his own racing machine and leaving him at a career low. Since the beginning of the season, even long before the ill-fated Malaysian race, Bagnaia had been vocal and consistent in his complaints to Ducati's technical team about the character of the GP25, which he described as having different DNA compared to its predecessor, the GP24, which he had mastered to perfection. These complaints were fundamental, not just minor setup issues. He specifically targeted the bike's inability to accelerate out of corners and, most importantly, its extremely poor turning ability. This situation forced him to ride far outside his comfort zone, with the front end consistently feeling bad and lacking in precision, a sensation that is crucial for a rider who relies on smoothness and control on corner entry. Pecco Bagnaia's turning difficulties can be best described as severe understeer, particularly when the bike is at full lean angle mid-corner. Bagnaia found that the GP25 required extra effort and a wider line to complete the corner than the GP24, which is known for its sharpness. On a track like Sepang with its numerous high-speed corners, this meant he lost valuable momentum every lap by having to decelerate more to ensure the bike could turn, and then having to work harder at lean angle to force the bike back to the apex. This mid-corner instability disrupted his overall racing rhythm, making him an easy target for riders with more agile bikes. This turning deficit created a domino effect on the braking and turning points of the bike. In an attempt to compensate, Pecco tried various braking approaches. Braking harder and deeper actually stiffened the front end and made it difficult to steer understeer, while braking too gently caused him to lose time by entering corners late. Bagnaia specifically complained that there was no way for him to stop the bike as desired and achieve the feeling he needed for stability when releasing the brakes. This inability to fully utilize the Brembo braking system directly hurt Pecco as he struggled to maintain position under pressure from other riders. The Desmosedici GP25's frantic efforts to cover up its handling weaknesses cost the rear tire dearly. Because the bike tends to understeer mid-corner, Pecco is forced to open the throttle earlier and more aggressively, or use more lean angle at high speeds to lift the bike and force it to change direction. This cruel treatment of the tire causes the rear tire to overheat and degrade much more rapidly than other riders. These extreme thermal and mechanical loads on the tire compound are what critically weaken the tire's structural integrity, making it highly susceptible to external damage and, ultimately, turning even a small piece of debris on the track into a catastrophic tire blowout. Pecco's decline in form was evident in his inconsistent qualifying session at Sepang. While he surprisingly secured pole position, the process to get there was a turbulent one. He even had to go through Q1 for the third consecutive time, an almost unthinkable feat for the reigning world champion. Although pole gave him hope, Bagnaia himself implied that the setup he used for the time attack was a very sensitive, temporary solution and not a stable setting for a full-distance race, where the demands on the bike's feel and durability would be significantly different. The culmination of this crisis was the stark performance difference between Bagnaia and his teammate, Marquez, also riding a Desmosedici GP25. Marquez demonstrated remarkable adaptability, winning races and performing consistently, often even masking the bike's weaknesses that Pecco had complained about. This stark difference led to the analysis that the GP25's DNA, which allegedly has a different weight distribution and frame stiffness than the GP24, is better suited to Marquez's signature stop-and-go, or pushing, riding style, compared to Bagnaia's more refined, precise, and mid-corner-driven riding style. Bagnaia himself admitted, "Mark is very strong because he manages to hide the problems we have, emphasizing that it's not just him who is struggling, but that Marquez is an exception. Ahead of the Malaysian round, Ducati's technical team reportedly tried various drastic solutions, including rumors of extensive setup changes to Pecco's bike, but ultimately failed, failing to finish the race in Sepang, following previous failures in Indonesia and Australia, served as a bitter confirmation that the sought-after technical solution had not been found, or even that the GP25's basic hardware had reached its development limit for Pecco's riding style. Considering all these chronic technical issues, from understeer and braking issues to tire overstress, the Sepang tire incident must be seen as an inevitable tipping point. An already overworked bike, experiencing constant micro-slip and suboptimal grip, was at its most vulnerable to even the slightest impact. The primary fault here wasn't just the debris on the track, but Ducati's inability to provide Bagnaia with a stable, manageable bike with enough margin for error under the pressure of the race, making him the victim of a bike design that failed to adapt to its main rider. The Sepang crisis was not only a fatal loss of points, but also a severe blow to Pecco Bagnaia's mentality, who openly admitted that he was starting to not recognize himself on the GP25. With the remaining races dwindling and the points gap threatening, Ducati and Bagnaia's focus had to shift quickly from simply scoring as many points as possible to taming the Desmosedici GP25. This was a huge gamble for the factory team. Would they manage to find a magical technical solution in such a short time, or would they be forced to admit that the GP25, while fast in the hands of Marquez, had failed to meet the needs of the reigning world champion? An irony that would be remembered as a turning point for the 2025 racing season. Fermin Aldeguer has officially been named MotoGP Rookie of the Year in 2025. However, the Gresini racing rider admitted to having doubts. He secured the prestigious title after finishing third in the 2025 Malaysian MotoGP sprint race at the Sepang International Circuit, Selangor, on Saturday, October 25th at noon Western Indonesian time. He was later declared to have finished the session in 8th place after receiving an 8-second time penalty for underinflated tires. Despite this, Aldeguer remains officially the best rookie of the season. With 186 points in 20 races leading up to Malaysia, he has a commanding lead over AI Ogura and Samkiat Chantra. Aldeguer was naturally delighted with this success. He also expressed his gratitude to everyone who has supported him, especially the Gresini racing team. We have a kind of mini championship, and it would be nice to win it. But honestly, until the 2025 Australian MotoGP, I never thought about it, said Aldeguer.